Good afternoon, everybody, here and over the web. Anybody in the audience an entrepreneur? Okay, good afternoon, Startup Nation Israel. We're celebrating 20 years. We're 20 years old today. That looks great. And here comes a man who is so very instrumental in making Israel the startup nation it has become. Please welcome entrepreneur and venture capitalist, the father of the Bird Foundation, and MIT Enterprise Forum chairman, entrepreneur and venture capitalist, Dr. Ed Mlavsky.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? My wife says I mumble. I have a rare privilege of introducing a very rare individual, but luckily there are others who have emulated his performance. He is the ultimate repeat entrepreneur, with one big difference from many of the others. Everything he touches works. How does that? He has an amazing record of being successful, of developing companies that are sold to first-rate companies from abroad, like Cisco in particular. And he is now, the country is taking advantage of his enormous knowledge and experience as the vice president of this university we're at, as a member of the board of the Hebrew University, and a member of the board of a number of important companies such as Amdocs. So Giora, I'm not going to steal from your time. I'm just going to say, please welcome Dr. Giora Yaron. Thank you.
Frankly, after these warm words, the right thing to do is to step down, quit while you're ahead. That's rule number one in startups. But since I've prepared a few notes, I'm going to share that with you. So, first of all, MIT. MIT has played a major role in getting Startup Nation to where it's at. One of the problems you have is really getting started, and that's where MIT comes in. So Ayla and Ed, thank you very much for what you've done so far. And with Ed, under Ed's leadership, I'm sure that Ayla, for the next 100 years, is going to continue to drive us to the next level. So since we're in an academic environment, I thought that the right thing to do is really to start with a small quiz. In fact, the photographer here asked me, so what is the quiz going to be about? I said, no, that's unfair. You're going to have had time. So I basically shared with him the question at 10 minutes to 4, and he's still taking photographs, and I've gone through a numerous question, whether it's ELTA or it's what have you. I think he threw at me a list of about 10 companies. None was correct. So I'll get right to the question, and by show of hands, I'd like to see who knows the answer. The year is the early 80s. Japan is taking over everything from semiconductors, as the semiconductor industry, automotive industry, mainframe, everything the Japanese touch, they've taken over. So here you have Reagan being the president of the US, inviting prime time. At the time it was 6 p.m. The primary channel was NBC, like CNN today, inviting somebody to the White House and using him as a platform, explaining to the American public how they're going to get out of this mess. So by show of hands, who has a clue who was there and what was the comment? I'll open the question to those above the age of 40. I know that those below 40 probably cannot guess. Okay. The entrepreneur was Aryeh Feingold, a good friend of mine. Oh, now you are telling me that you knew. I see all those. Yeah, of course I knew the question. So the entrepreneur was Aryeh Feingold. He was invited by Reagan to the White House. They shook hands, and in front of the American public, Reagan basically said, this is the way to beat the Japanese. Why in hell did he select an Israeli entrepreneur? I don't know. But Aryeh founded a company called Daisy at the time. Those that are familiar with what Daisy did, they basically went against all odds. There was a small company called IBM, and those of you that have found that basically know the interpretation of Ford, it's a great invention by IBM, which is called Fear, Uncertainty, and Doubt. Come on, guys, are you serious to put something serious with these clowns in the Silicon Valley? Daisy went against all odds and basically invented what we know today as distributed computing. Small workstations, instead of a mainframe being the bottleneck, let's have the compute being distributed, and this is the way to overcome the bottleneck of mainframe. IBM obviously over the years said it's never going to work, it will not work, etc., etc. The true story is that all these big companies, after they cannot beat it, they join it. So obviously IBM has its own new workstations and the likes, but this is a true story. And what did Reagan say in this event? He said two things. He said SMB, small, medium businesses, and he said innovation. And he said it about 10 times, started with SMB, ended with innovation to SMB and the likes. So SMB, for those who don't know, is small, medium businesses, and this is actually what creates jobs. Okay, there's a correction from the audience which I cannot repeat, so I'll stick to what I know. But the important thing is, it's not about job creation. It's about valued job creation. I was invited recently to Korea and to India. They started with creating jobs, but realized that if you create jobs that don't create a lot of value, there's a limit to what you can pay. So if you really want to get the standard of living up, there is no way but to do it with what I would call value jobs. And that goes back to innovation. So what has happened since then? The US has developed an unbelievable VC industry that created endless stream of high-value companies. Google, Facebook, Twitter, the list is endless. And you know, when I was young and people said it's about democracy to invent, democracy to think, democracy, I thought it was kind of, in Hebrew we say, machbesat milim, you know, just using the terminology. And today I hear a lot of statements about China taking over. Forget it. As long as the US has 7 of the top 10 universities, China is not going to take over. Maybe there'll be more jobs, maybe they'll create a lot of stuff, but to take over the US, when I lived in the US and I was very fearful of Japan, I thought that the US is going to go under. That's the last time I bet against the US. So as long as the US continues to operate the way they operate, I don't think that that's going to change. What has happened here meanwhile? What has happened here meanwhile, we apparently have written a book, or a chapter in a book, or the whole book, that's called Startup Nation. And in fact, there was another book published pretty much at the same time, the Israel Test, in fact, by a much more famous author that didn't get as much visibility, but they are both focused on Israel becoming what it is today, which is the country of Startup Nation. Now, the Wall Street Journal has recently selected us to be the most innovative country. In fact, today you read about 5 guys, the Hebrew University, developed an application which is the #1 app in the App Store. How much money did they put in? 5 dinners, $500. So they skipped 5 dinners. I mean, good steak, good wine, and the likes for $100. It's a pretty expensive dinner, but the bottom line is we have an endless stream of innovation continuing to come that makes people like me really look as if they haven't done anything. The younger generation is really outperforming what we have done. Now, what is the problem? And that's where Tel Aviv University hopefully will be stepping in. We are enjoying the fruits of the innovation that was made, if you will, in the very early days. The investment in the academic infrastructure was made in the very early days. The problem that we have today is that we have these guys in what I call Chindia, which is China and India, that if all you have is better, faster, cheaper, it's not going to be enough. You need something a lot more than that. And that's why I believe we, as the largest academia in Israel, basically have to step in and to take us to the next level. We are doing basically three things in that direction. We are starting to leverage the fact that we have we are really the biggest university in Israel and the most multidisciplinary university in Israel. So if you continue and maintain the silo structure, which is computer science, math, etc., well, you'll go somewhere, but you won't go as far as you can go. And the name of the game is really to start in the horizontal play where you aggregate some of those capabilities. So we have done a couple of things in that regard. The first one, we basically have opened the track, if you will, for everything that has to do with cyber. We have a great computing engineering school. We have a great math capabilities. We have a great law school. That's a very unique combination that really enables us to open an academic track in this specific area of cyber. We have the fortunate or the unfortunate situation that both the Mossad and the Shabak are pretty much a walking distance. So if typically we have to get on the flights, like what I'm going to do tonight, we don't have to fly anywhere. We just have to walk. We are the market. Very unfortunate, but we are the market. So we are the market, we have the innovation, we have the expertise, and we're one of the top 25 in those specific disciplines. So that's one area where we're going to go across the silos. Another area that we're going to go across the silos in the area of entrepreneurship. And we would like to have a track. We're in the process of opening and defining it, so that if you're a young guy, you have a great idea, you want to get a degree, call it in computer science, you can basically get a degree also in entrepreneurship. And again, the right professors are working on the right program, but at the end of the day, you will know something about marketing, something about P&L, something about accounting, and something about law. So when you talk about a share, you talk about M&A, you talk about dilution, you know what you're talking about. Till now, you basically ended up being in a situation where you had to approach guys like me to know it. Now you're going to get it on campus. And last but not least, we are talking about opening basically on the ground. We would like to have an incubator that basically would allow you to take it, if you will, to the next level. By doing so, I do hope, and it's part of our vision, to have Tel Aviv University do to Tel Aviv and to Israel, if you will, what basically Stanford was able to do to the Silicon Valley. So if we all hands, I mean Tel Aviv University, the VCs that are around us, the entrepreneurs that are here, and those that are not here today, hopefully we will be able to write the next chapter of Startup Nation. Thank you very much.